If a woman earns more than you can be sure it will ruin the relationship. There is an exact moment when a relationship begins to die, and most men do not realize when it happens. It is not an affair. It is not a violent fight. It is not a grotesque mistake. It is something much quieter, much more subtle, and infinitely more devastating. It is the day her paycheck surpasses yours. You may be thinking that this is an exaggeration, that we live in modern times, that evolved couples celebrate each other's success, that true love transcends financial issues. And you have every right to believe that. But the reality we observe every day tells a completely different story. A story that no one wants to admit out loud, but that is happening in thousands of homes at this very moment. When a man financially supports his partner, there is an invisible dynamic that structures the entire relationship. He pays the bills. She studies, prepares herself, grows professionally. He takes on extra responsibilities. She builds her career. He believes he is investing in the future of both of them. She accepts the support with apparent gratitude. Everything seems to work perfectly. Everything seems fair. Everything seems sustainable. Then comes the turning point. The promotion. The new job. The salary that doubles. The position of prominence. And suddenly, for the first time, she earns more than he does. Sometimes much more. What should be a reason for joint celebration slowly turns into something completely different. Something neither of them is prepared to face. At first, everything continues as normal. Maybe even better. There is an initial euphoria. Dinners at more expensive places. Trips that were previously impossible. A sense of abundance that fills the house. He feels proud of her. She shows gratitude for the support she received. Both sincerely believe that the relationship is stronger than ever. That they won together. That the effort was worth it. But then the small changes begin. So small that it would be ridiculous to mention them. A word here. A look there. A comment that goes unnoticed. She starts talking more about her coworkers. About the corporate environment. About the brilliant people around her. He listens with interest, happy that she is fulfilled. He does not notice that in these accounts, he is never mentioned. He does not notice that she is building a life narrative of which he is not a part. The conversations about the future change tone. Before it was "we are going to make it." Now it is "I need to focus on my career." Before it was "when we can afford it." Now it is "when I am more stable." The plural starts to disappear. The singular takes up more and more space. And he does not notice, because the words still sound like joint planning. But the emotional structure behind them is changing. She spends more time at work. Corporate events. Happy hours with the team. Dinners with clients. He understands perfectly. After all, when a career is taking off, it is necessary to network. It is necessary to be present. It is necessary to seize opportunities. He stays at home, taking care of the things he has always taken care of. Waiting. Supporting. Believing that this is temporary. Intimacy begins to diminish. Not abruptly. Just a little more tiredness. A headache. A stressful day at work. She is building something important, he thinks. It is natural that she is exhausted. He continues to be understanding. Continues to be patient. Continues to be the supportive partner he has always been. He does not realize that the distance is not caused by tiredness, but by something much deeper. Her friends change. Before, they were people from the neighborhood, from college, from the common circle of both of them. Now they are executives, entrepreneurs, high-level professionals. People who live in different neighborhoods. Who frequent different places. Who have different conversations. She does not consciously abandon her old friends. She just starts having less time. Less in common. Less connection. And he becomes increasingly distant from this new world she inhabits. The criticisms begin. Small, veiled, almost imperceptible. About the way he dresses. About the places he likes to go. About the opinions he expresses. About the ambitions he has or does not have. She is not being cruel. She is just helping him grow. She is sharing what she learned. She is wanting the best for him. But each comment is a small blade that cuts away at the connection between the two of them. He tries to keep up. He reads more. Stays up to date. Tries to understand her corporate universe. Asks questions about her work. Shows genuine interest. But he notices that the answers are becoming increasingly superficial. That she does not have the patience to explain. That she seems bored when he tries to participate in these conversations. As if he were a child trying to understand adult matters. And then comes the moment that defines everything. It is not a specific date. It is not an isolated event. It is a gradual perception that slowly takes shape. She no longer looks at him with admiration. She no longer seeks his opinion on important decisions. She no longer shares her achievements with the excitement of before. He has stopped being a partner. He has become just someone who is there. Someone from the past. Someone who was part of a version of her that no longer exists. What this man does not yet understand is that the transformation did not happen because she became bad. It did not happen because she is ungrateful. It did not happen because she planned it. It happened because the fundamental structure of the relationship was completely altered, and neither of them had the tools to deal with this change. If you are enjoying this content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. And leave a comment saying which city or country you're watching from. I want to know where the people are who have the courage to face uncomfortable truths about modern relationships. The question that no one wants to ask is simple and brutal. What happens when the woman no longer needs the man? When the financial security he offered is no longer necessary? When the future he promised has already been achieved by her herself? What remains? What keeps the relationship alive when the structure that supported it disappears? The answer lies in the next layers of this dynamic. In the invisible forces that govern attraction, respect, and commitment. In the truths that society prefers to ignore because they are politically inconvenient. In the differences between what we say we value and what truly moves us. The hardest truth about relationships is that they do not survive on shared history alone. It does not matter how many years you have been together. It does not matter how many battles you have won side by side. It does not matter how many sacrifices were made. What keeps a relationship alive is the perception of future value. And when that perception changes, everything collapses. Let's talk about what really happens in her brain when the financial dynamic is reversed. This is not moral judgment. It is the observation of patterns that repeat themselves with frightening precision. When she starts earning significantly more, 3 fundamental psychological changes happen simultaneously, and all of them work against the continuation of the relationship. First change. The removal of the cost of leaving. When she depended financially on him, leaving the relationship had a real price. It meant losing stability. It meant having to start over alone without a safety net. It meant facing immediate practical difficulties. This cost worked as a force that kept the relationship together even in difficult moments. Not through manipulation, but through simple economic reality. Now that cost disappears. She can leave whenever she wants. She can pay for her own apartment. She can maintain her standard of living. She can even improve her situation by leaving. And this changes everything. Small problems that were once tolerated become unbearable. Flaws that were accepted become legitimate reasons to break up. The patience that existed simply evaporates. Because now she has options. And people with options do not tolerate dissatisfaction. Second change, the expansion of the comparison horizon. When she works in high-performance environments, she is surrounded daily by successful, articulate, ambitious men. Men who earn as much as or more than she does. Men who speak the same professional language. Men who share the same cultural and social references. And even if she has no intention of cheating, even if she is completely faithful, the constant exposure to these alternatives erodes satisfaction with what she has at home. It is not that she compares consciously. It is that the human brain does this automatically. Every stimulating conversation at work is a contrast with the silence at home. Every challenging project shared with colleagues is a reminder that her partner no longer understands her world. Every professional achievement celebrated with a team reinforces that they belong to the same universe, while he was left behind in another. Third change, the erosion of admiration. And this is perhaps the most devastating of all. Female attraction has components that go beyond the physical. There is a dimension of respect, of admiration for what the man builds, for what he represents, for the way he navigates the world. When she looked at him and saw the provider, the protector, the one who made the life they had possible, there was genuine admiration. But now she is the provider. She is the one who makes their lifestyle possible. She is the one who has financial decision-making power. And every time she pays a large bill, every time she funds a trip, every time she solves a problem with money, a microscopic part of the admiration she felt for him disappears. Not out of cruelty. Simply because the foundation of that admiration no longer exists. What makes this even more complex is that she herself does not understand what she is feeling. She sincerely believes in the ideas of equality. She believes it should not matter who earns more. She believes she loves him regardless of money. But there is a huge distance between conscious belief and emotional response. The limbic brain, the part that processes attraction and desire, does not care about ideology. It responds to ancestral signals of value, status, and competence. Then something cruel happens. She begins to feel guilty about her own feelings. She knows it should not matter. She knows he did nothing wrong. She knows she should be happy about her success. But she cannot control the growing disinterest. She cannot force the attraction that has vanished. She cannot pretend the respect she no longer feels. And this dissonance between what she thinks and what she feels leaves her irritated. With him. With the situation. With herself. Meanwhile, he continues to be the same man he has always been. He works. He contributes. He supports. He cares. He does everything he has always done. But now everything he does seems insufficient. His jokes are no longer funny. His opinions seem simplistic. His dreams sound small. His ambitions seem mediocre. Not because he changed, but because her frame of reference changed completely. She begins to use phrases that sound reasonable but carry poison. I just want you to grow too. I need a partner who challenges me intellectually. I feel like we are at different moments in life. Phrases that place the responsibility on him. That suggest that if he just changed, everything would go back to normal. But the truth is that there is no change he can make fast enough to recover what was lost. Because what was lost is not something tangible. It is perception. It is instinctive attraction. It is automatic respect. These are things that cannot be recovered through conscious effort. They either exist or they do not exist. And once they disappear, they rarely return. Especially when the woman has already proven to herself that she can live well, or even better, without the man. The most painful part is that he still believes they are building something together. He still talks about future plans. He still invests emotionally. He still sees the relationship as a priority, while she is already mentally checking the exit. Already emotionally distant. Already preparing the ground for the end. And when he finally realizes it, it will be too late to do anything. Because the end does not happen on the day of the separation. It happens months earlier, in her silence. There is a specific moment when everything crystallizes. An instant when reality becomes impossible to ignore. It may be during a silent dinner. It may be after an argument about something trivial. It may be when he tries to initiate intimacy and receives a cold rejection. But there is always this moment when he finally understands, she is no longer here. Her body is still in the same house. The routine still works on the surface. But the woman he loved, who built dreams alongside him, who promised a shared future, that woman is already gone. What remains is only a polite, distant, tolerant version. A version that follows basic protocols of coexistence, while waiting for the right moment to formalize what has already happened emotionally. And then comes the conversation. The one he never imagined he would have. She sits down with a disturbing calm and says the words that destroy everything, "We need to talk about us." He feels his stomach sink. He feels his heart race. Because those words never announce anything good. They are never about fixing problems. They are always about ending things. She begins with carefully rehearsed phrases. You are an incredible person. I respect you a lot. You helped me at fundamental moments in my life. Each compliment is a blade disguised as affection. Because he knows what comes after the but. And when it comes, it hurts in a way he has never experienced before. But I've changed. But we are in different places. But I need space to grow. But I can no longer see myself in this relationship in the long term. Phrases that sound reasonable. Phrases that no one can contest. Because who is going to argue against personal growth? Who is going to say that she should stay unhappy? Who is going to force someone to remain where they no longer want to be? He tries to understand. He tries to argue. He remembers the good moments. He remembers what they built together. He remembers when she needed him and he was there. He remembers every sacrifice he made. Every plan he postponed. Every dream he put in the background to support her dreams. And she listens to everything with a patience that cuts deeper than any scream. I know all of that, she says. And I am eternally grateful. But gratitude is not love. And I deserve to be with someone who makes me feel complete. The logic is impeccable. The cruelty is invisible. Because how is he going to argue that she does not deserve to be happy? How is he going to say that gratitude should be enough? How is he going to compete with a feeling she says she no longer has? What destroys him is not the separation itself. It is the perception that everything was an illusion. That while he believed he was building a future, she was only fulfilling a temporary contract. That all the emotional investment, all the support, all the dedication, created no real bond. They were only transactions. Services rendered that were paid for with temporary permanence. She talks about growth. About self-knowledge. About needing to find her true essence. About not being able to live anymore in a relationship that does not fulfill her. And everything sounds so contemporary, so legitimate, so aligned with personal development discourse, that he cannot even question it. Because any objection would be classified as trying to hinder her growth. As being toxic. As being controlling. What no one mentions is that this growth she seeks is not internal. It is external. It is the search for a man who earns more. For someone who socially occupies the place that he occupied emotionally. For a partner she can admire again in the ways she can no longer admire him. But this cannot be said out loud. So it is called personal growth. Days later she is already different. Lighter. Happier. Goes out more. Smiles at her phone. Comes home late. And when he asks where she was, the answer comes with disproportionate irritation. You are not my owner anymore. I can do whatever I want. We already broke up, or didn't you understand? And he realizes that she is not just going out. She is going out with someone. It may be a coworker. It may be a superior. It may be someone from her new social circle. But it is always someone who occupies the space she believes she deserves. Someone with status. With power. With resources. Someone who, when she mentions in conversations, generates admiration in others. Someone who validates the new version of herself that she built. And the speed with which she replaces years of history is terrifying. Weeks after the breakup, there is already someone else. There is already someone she introduces to friends. There is already someone who appears on social media. There is already someone with whom she makes travel plans. As if he had never existed. As if everything they lived was easily disposable. He asks himself how this is possible. How someone erases years of coexistence in weeks. How such strong feelings simply disappear. But the answer is brutal. They did not disappear. They never existed in the way he believed. What existed was convenience. It was an arrangement that worked while she needed it. And when she stopped needing it, the arrangement ended. Just like that. What completely destroys his sanity is realizing that he was used. Not consciously perhaps, but used. He supported her studies. Paid for the career-building phase. Offered stability when she was vulnerable. And now that she is reaping the rewards are hers alone. He has no right to anything. Not to lasting gratitude. Not to consideration. Not to the respect of a dignified farewell. He is simply discarded like a tool that fulfilled its function. The question that needs to be answered is not whether this is fair. It is not whether she should act differently. It is not whether he deserves more consideration. The real question is, what do you do with this information? How does a man navigate a world where financial dynamics can destroy relationships that seem solid? First, it is necessary to completely abandon the illusion that relationships function based on fairness or merit. They do not. Relationships operate on perception of value, instinctive attraction, and mutual interest. When any of these elements disappears, the relationship ends. It does not matter how much you invested. It does not matter how much you sacrificed. It does not matter how much you love. If the other person no longer perceives value in you, it is over. Second, it is essential to understand that supporting someone's growth does not create emotional debt. You can pay for her college. You can support her while she builds her career. You can be the support during difficult moments. And she owes you nothing for that. Absolutely nothing. If you did it expecting something in return, you did it wrong. If you did it expecting eternal gratitude, you were deluded. Genuine support does not charge, does not expect, does not keep score. But that does not mean you should place yourself in a position of extreme vulnerability. There is a difference between supporting and erasing yourself, between helping and completely sacrificing yourself, between being generous and being naive. And many men cross this line without realizing it, believing that the more they sacrifice, the more valuable they become. It is exactly the opposite. The uncomfortable truth is that value in relationships does not come from sacrifice. It comes from self-growth. It comes from having an independent purpose. It comes from building something that exists beyond the relationship. A man who places all his value in the role of provider or supporter is building a fragile identity. Because when that role is no longer necessary, he becomes unnecessary. So the lesson is not never support a woman. It is not never let her earn more. It is not keep her dependent. Those would be toxic and useless conclusions. The real lesson is, never make the relationship your only life project. Never place all your emotional resources into another person. Never stop building independent value. Because relationships are dynamic systems. They change constantly. And the only way to survive change is to be someone who remains valuable regardless of circumstances. If your value is only in providing money, you lose when she earns more. If your value is only in offering stability, you lose when she becomes stable. If your value is only in supporting dreams, you lose when the dreams are achieved. But if your value is in who you are, in what you build, in the way you evolve, then changes in external circumstances do not destroy you. She can earn more. She can be successful. She can grow professionally. And you remain someone interesting, challenging, valuable. Because your value does not depend on comparison. It depends on your own substance. That means real ambition. It means having projects beyond the relationship. It means cultivating skills, knowledge, experiences. It means not outsourcing your identity to the role of partner. It means being whole on your own and choosing to share that wholeness, not using the relationship to fill an existential void. And here's the part that will generate the most resistance. If you are in a relationship where the woman earns significantly more and you feel the dynamic changing, begging will not help. Remembering the past will not help. Appealing to guilt or gratitude will not help. The only thing that can reverse the situation is becoming undeniably valuable again. And that does not happen in weeks. It happens over years. And it may already be too late for that specific relationship. So the real choice you have is this: accept that it is over and rebuild on your own, or try to hold on to something that is already dead while you deteriorate in the process. The second option only prolongs the suffering. The first, even though brutal, at least offers the possibility of rebirth. What happened was not your fault for supporting. It was the consequence of supporting without building. Of investing in her without investing in yourself. Of believing that sacrifice generates love. Of confusing permanence with commitment. Of interpreting convenience as genuine connection. These illusions cost years of life and leave deep marks. But they also teach the most valuable lesson a man can learn. Your value is not in what you do for others. It is in what you are for yourself. Build that. Protect that. Never abandon that. Not for love. Not for family. Not for the most important person in the world. Because on the day you have nothing besides the relationship, you will not even have the relationship. If this content made sense to you, subscribe to the channel and leave your like. And put in the comments where you are watching from. I want to know which cities and countries have men brave enough to face truths that no one else has the courage to say. Relationships end. People change. Dynamics transform. But you have control over one thing: who you choose to be every day. Make that choice your priority. And if someone stays, let them stay because you are irreplaceable, not because you are convenient.